It's chill. I don't know. Oh. Yes.
Well, did everything?
Oh, she's gonna give me her.
Anybody want some, roast cookies? I got some.
Yeah, well, I know that my girls. So I have explained the trunk. but I
Yeah.
didn't want to-
It's seasonal, right?
Wait, wait, there.
Well, I'm excited. I just, I know Jackie Crawford.
Need some calls.
Boy, we lost a lot of people with this.
There
there was
the
some
three of us
intimidating.
take their own.
Figured I was teaching, they're gonna be intimidating.
Easy today. Oh, these, how you doing?
Here you go. Oh, yeah, right. Sorry, I showed the time.
You're just supposed to say, yeah, right. Mhm. Very nice.
Okay. No, there's not, there's not. What's going on? I heard you were here. So I was like, We're working more on mine.
Did you have that?
That's true.
Yeah.
Weekend this time where you, guys.
That was just, Spotify's top 40 playlist.
Yeah, it's.
Ready, I was like, oh, it's gonna be in a good mood, okay. But I'm glad you chose.
Yeah, great.
Brace your job. That's what we're gonna talk about today. That's right. That's what we're here to do. Anybody else? Well, you're in the lobby over there?
Sorry about that, man.
Yep.
Oh.
That's a blind spot
That's
there.
coffee,
Yeah.
tea,
Oh, did you?
Nick. Nick.
Hold on. This is. Go on the side.
Oh, thank you.
I just.
Then I'll-
Lisa, by the way, your logo.
Oh,
Working in the van, it's really cool.
Handed, like,
Oh, better.
That's great and all, but then,
That's great.
This is my favorite coffee cup here. No.
no,
Say no.
get those out of the way first.
No.
Okay. There's a sign-in sheet going around, so that just came in, you know, get on it.
Yeah.
I don't even have time for that.
So, I know you guys did this yesterday, and I know you, but if you could just go quick around the room and just tell me your name and how many years in the business, so I kind of have a gauge on who I can speak on. All right, what's up, Mr. Regis?
Hey man, I've been in this business for 2 years.
The game.
Glad to be part of you guys.
Yay. Kevin,
I'm Kevin, I've been in the business for 21 years.
Oh, my lucky number.
I'm Scott, about a little over 2.5 years.
Okay.
Andrina, 2.5 years. Elisa Friedman, and I've been licensed for about a month.
Ooh, hey, first one.
Yeah.
Nice.
Today, Christopher.
Mercury Winemaking, since September.
I'm not licensed, so this is not- But then it's,
Yeah. Amy, Westland, 17 years.
Luis Reyes, 2 years. Mo, 4 years.
Nick Mocha, licensed for 7 years, productive for 3, 4.
I love it.
Is it 1 month, or you think it'll about 2 months now?
And what's
2 months?
Yeah.
Easy.
They just-
Did they?
That's got it.
No, about 7.
Marvin, team, obviously, well done.
I'm Scott, couple years now.
Jackie Gruffalo, 4.5 years.
All right. Thank you for that. I'm Lisa Bowe. I'm, been in the business for 18 years now, I think. I just had a flashback today. I was trying to figure out where to hang up my coat, and I think I was 2 offices ago, and I was like, wait, we don't have that closet anymore.
Was it different one?
I started. In my previous life, I was a banker and then always liked real estate, did construction loans. Then, we were in Phoenix for my job. I got into real estate. So that was 2004. So that was kind of similar to the market that we just were at, where it was craziness and buyers were trying their offers and the industry was great, right? Well, not if you work with buyers, just kind of the last couple of years, but yeah, it's great. But if you only work with buyers, then it's not, it's hard to snag one, so you're doing a lot of work. So that's kind of how I started. Then in Phoenix, you learn when mom is not happy, nobody's happy, and I don't like to be hot. So Phoenix is not my place.
Yeah, I come from.
Oh, not my happy place. No.
This is not mine.
Right?
The snow is, yeah, the snow is coming. You're right.
I think our family was coming. We're working on
So so then we moved home, we're originally from North Dakota, so then we moved home to Minnesota, 2006, so I've been here and with this office.
You didn't keep track.
Ever since then. Yeah, roller coasters down all around. It's kind of Groundhog Day, it's like, depending on which part of the cycle we're in. But it's always something that new and different, I really enjoy it, and I really love actually teaching, because I love it kind of inspires me to fix things that too. And master something, you gotta be able to teach it. So that's me. So kudos to all of you for signing up for Ignite. It is a wonderful program. I'm so glad they brought it back. So you young ones, you early in your careers ones, it's great that they're having us now, because like COVID weren't doing stuff like this. So I know it was hard to stay with it. Well done for you guys for jumping in, and then veterans, well done for kind of reboot to see what we're missing and just hearing it again. So thanks for being here. Today, we're going to talk about embracing your job. Yay. By the way, I think it's interesting they call it a job, because I thought that was a very bold, like, I kind of consider it more of a calling. Otherwise, why do we do this? I don't know. Sometimes I wonder. So I think the goal is to not make it a job, but that's what we're here to talk about, is embracing your job. So there we are in your whole Ignite. So today we're going to talk about key priorities to make it a great agent. And we're going to talk the success system from yesterday. Hopefully you guys remember talking about that. So we're going to apply the 6 core competencies of business. So we'll talk about those. Recognize your role as fiduciary versus functionary for your clients. And then we're going to review the success system and kind of talk about what are the steps that need to be done to make you successful. We'll get into that, and then you'll have the last bit to actually do that. The daily success system. So, getting back, so what does excite you about real estate? Why did you choose to be a realtor? You're yeah.
Well, I have been working with the Boss Harwood team for the past year, and the reason why I even started doing that is I have been a stay-at-home mom for the past 10 years, and I felt like I was losing myself, like I had lost myself, and it was kind of a way to make me feel seen as somebody besides just me, or a wife. And so I love interacting with people. I love helping people. And so this kind of just work.
Hello.
They kind of just, you know, kind of flowed together and it made sense. And Andy and Sherilyn have been very supportive of that. They said they think I would be great. My grandmother used to be a realtor, so it kind of just happened.
Yep, awesome.
We're laughing because Sherilyn was like commenting about, I don't know if you saw her. Very supportive.
Nice. Nick, why did you become a?
Oh. Why did I become? I was a banker previously, entrepreneur previously. Always loved real estate. I got in the commercial side right away. Off of my banking experience, actually, a friend of mine said, she's an architect, and she said, hey, my client needs to sell a piece of property, so I got handed a listing and I became a real estate agent. I just about got sued on that first listing. It was a lot of fun. And then, after that, I realized that residential was my deal because I didn't have the support system where I was. Then I moved back into commercial, and so I've been productive and not productive, and now I kind of found my place in my shoes.
Well done.
Yeah.
Experience of your first deal.
Yeah. I was in Switzerland and I got a phone call. They're like, I'm gonna sue you if you don't do this and that. I was like, no.
Not there, yeah. Yeah, but they don't have extradition, I bet.
Yeah, expensive.
Amy, how did you get, why did you become a realtor?
So I could see what was happening with the market in 2005. All my friends were like building these huge houses and using their houses as ATMs. I'm like, I got into, I never got into actually.
Interesting. All right, so you kind of just saw that piece of it.
You want the ATM, please?
Yeah, my first house I bought was on Maryland, 561 Maryland was $25,000.
Oh, yeah. 05, you could do that.
Yeah, they're like, are you sure? Are you not overpaying? I'm like,
Awesome. How about you, Kevin?
Well, being the oldest person.
Wait, Ben, they have houses to get the bill
Experience.
I got into real estate. I was in corporate America for 19 years in Chicago, and I got transferred up here. Got bought and sold with the company for several rounds, and I got sick of getting bought and sold. And decided, I'm gonna go and work on house, such, because that was kind of a passion. A lot like people here, that, you start to delve into it a little bit. I then went to do real estate courses because I was sick of paying those agents. And,
Don't do anything.
and I knew more than they did. But I got into that and just slowly materialized into a full-fledged career. Like I said, it's 21 years ago, I started that, and I've been selling with people for 20 years. Or for people, I should say, buyers and sellers. And I wouldn't turn back. I think it's so much fun, like you said, I was in corporate America, I was losing my mind as well. I think you might not have said mind, but you were losing yourself. I was losing my mind. But it's, I don't know, it's a great career. It's a great career path. And I think that it's endless. It's what you put into it, no doubt about it.
Yeah. Awesome. Anybody else want to share? Yeah, so what the written answer here is that most people say the opportunity to support someone in making one of the most important decisions of their life, build relationships with others and live a big life, which I think we kind of all said that we like people, although some days less than others, but we want to help, right? I think I heard that.
I didn't say, I said I like commission.
Example later. All right, so in the book, The Shift, which I encourage you all to read, as said Groundhog's Day, he wrote that at the last one, and it's a good one to read right now. Gary Keller, he came up with the 6 core competencies. Basically, what do you do rather than running around with their head cut off going, oh my gosh, market's shifting. What do I do? What do I do? He kind of boiled it down to 6 core competencies. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So they are, sounds easy. Only 6 things that we need to do to be successful. Lead, generate, capture, and convert to appointments. Present to buyers and sellers and get their agreement. Show buyers houses and market sellers houses. Write, negotiate contracts, coordinate the sale to closing, and boom, manage your money once you get it. Easy. And it is basically that easy, right? I mean, it's not brain surgery. Trick of it is you have to do all of it very well to be successful. So that's what then we're going to kind of talk about those pieces. So the first one, lead generate, capture, and convert to appointments. So those of you who haven't taken too many Keller Williams classes yet, if there's ever any question thrown out about anything, usually the answer is lead generation. Give you that. I'll give you the answer to the test right now. I swear to God, anytime they say anything, you just lead generation. You're right. So that is our #1 job, lead generation. And really, when I go networking with other business people, I mean, anybody in sales, lead generation. So whether that's getting your customers to come to your coffee shop, whatever, those are leads, right? So lead generation, #1, trying to find people who want to do business with you. No leads, no business. So what does it mean to capture a lead though?
Database. Put them in your database.
Put them in your database, right? Getting their information, right? So you can meet somebody, but that's kind of the tricky part, I get. Yeah, right. I know. It's kind of asking them for their contact information. I meet lots of people, but whether you get their contact information is another thing. Yes, and then remembering to put it in your database. And then converting to appointments. Follow up. That's always the second answer to every question. Is the follow up, right? Converting to appointments. So if you hold an open house and you meet 20 people and you get them to fill out your form, you got captured their information. But if you can't convert to appointments, it's kind of a waste of time as well. So capturing is agreeing to work together, and then converting them is where you actually get to meet. And so one thing I would say for you new people especially, can keep track of all that. So when you do your business planning in November, when we have our business planning clinic, you're going to need to know kind of how that funnel all, so you can figure out where you're not failing, but where, improvement on. So if you're not getting enough leads, then obviously you capture 2 people a month, and that's not going to get you much business. But if you lead generate, you get 20 people, but you don't get half of their information, then you need to work on that scripting. Or if you get 20 people's information, but you don't ever have any appointments, then obviously that's where you need to work on your objections and role playing. So just kind of keep an eye on that and keep track of that, and command will help you with that too. Yeah, did you have a question?
You had said capture was getting them to work with you. Can you remind me the definition?
They say capturing, is a. Well, okay, so it says convert to an appointment. Capturing leads is wonderful. It's capturing, it's converting. However, the ultimate goal is to find active buyers that want to meet with you and agree to work with you. So you're right, it's converting is the agreeing to work with you. However, at least agreeing to meet with you. Number two is then when you meet with them, then to get them to sign on dotted line with you, right? So presenting to buyers, so that includes your buyer presentation. And then obviously sellers, your listing presentation, and then getting them to sign with you. So we've kind of been able to slack off, I feel like, on that first buyer presentation, because usually you'd get a call and you'd have to run out and away we go this in the last few years. I think this is going to be more critical as buyers are now a little more wary with the interest rates being higher, and they've kind of heard the horror stories, and I feel like they're just a little more gun shy. So you're going to be doing buyer presentations, listing presentations that later in Ignite here. So those will be things that will be discussed going forward, but I think we'll all need to dig out our buyer presentations and kind of dust that off and kind of tweak that out too. But buyer presentations are really critical, I feel, and I think will help us going forward. Because like I said, I feel like I just would get a call and away we go. But buyer presentations, I think, kind of prevent the buyers are liars. You'll hear that every once in a while. And I think that's because we went out and we saw that one house, because they called us yesterday and we had to run out and see the house. And then we think that's the house they always want, and that wasn't the house they wanted. So then we tried to find them that house. So the buyer presentation is one thing where you can find out actually what they want out of a house, what they need, delve into why they're buying a house, and just kind of get to the more root of their motivation. And I think that will help you from running around and showing houses that won't satisfy them too.
That's the question.
Yeah.
You're talking about getting the agreements and that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
The agency signed. and things like
Yeah.
that.
Agency sign, thank you.
When do you do that? How?
Good
I'm
question.
gonna make this really hard. for
Thanks,
you.
thank you. Thanks for prompting me. You can have a later class. Thank you, Kevin. Yes, so as, especially if you just passed your real estate license, you know, you're supposed to get your agency signed at the first, what do we call it? Substantive visit, yes. So I do like to do buyer presentation really quick. So if I get a call from now, and you don't need to run out like a crazy man, I like to set up a buyer presentation. One, because I've got the spiel in my head because I'm old, but I like to go through the whole process with them. And so I do make them come in. And I say, at least we'll set up your search, and you can look at how I'm setting up your search. So we've got the right areas and we've got the right criteria, because I don't want you to miss a house because I didn't click a button. So I bring them in and then we go through the whole process. And that way I feel like then, especially for first timers, I work with a lot of first timers, or with a lot of people my age who were first timers 30 years ago. So now they're first timers again. Just to kind of go through the process. So I feel like then they're like, oh, okay. Kind of like the 6 steps, right? You break it down into small pieces, and then they're like, okay, well, that I can do that step. I can do that step. I can do it. And I found too, if I don't do that, then I assume that I've already gone through it with them once, like the earnest money, like, okay, so what do you want for earnest money? And they're like, what's earnest money? I'm like, oh, we didn't do a buyer presentation. I didn't talk about that. So yeah, you can kind of go through the steps, especially with getting them ready to have earnest money ready, their inspection. Thank you, Jesus, they can do inspections again. your inspections, you'll need to pay for that right away, just kind of getting them, what money do I need right away when I find a house versus at close, just kind of those sorts of things. I like to do my buyer presentation right up front, and then I get the agency signed immediately as well. And then if they have some issues, you've got your little piece of paper that you got your buyer broker signed, because as market gets tougher and agents get a little nastier because they're not getting the money like they used to, there's gonna be more fights over commission too, so. Get your buyer presentation. Buyer broker sign. Thank you, Kevin. Any other questions?
No.
Okay.
For now.
Anybody else?
So what you're saying is that now one of the practices you're doing, you weren't doing this before, but they're no longer contract with the school, an agency, and then also doing this by the.
Yes,
Right now.
right away.
Okay.
Yep. Right away.
That's good.
Yeah,
Start doing that.
yeah.
It's,
Like like I said, I try to get them so that, I'm like, let's just go over the process. And like I said, I try, and then they're like, I know, I saw it on YouTube or whatever, you know, I saw it on HGTV, whatever. Like, well, then let's just make sure we got your search set up correctly.
Yeah.
And then you can kind of.
We have a lot of, I have a lot of that counts. They actually see, they say, let's say, the contracts, everybody. And then we accidentally, you said that the agencies. That's right. They say, I'm saying.
I just say that then I can't show you houses because then I'm not legally your agent. Right? Then I kind of working for the seller. So if you want me to represent you. Then, and help you, then I need a contract between us. Yeah, and then you can also explain where on the buyer side, you don't pay the commission, the sellers actually pay the commission. Yeah, and then that agency disclosure too, that's just, sometimes they freak out about that too, and I don't delve into that, because I think the more you talk about it, the more you make it sound like a really important thing. And I just say, you know, this just explains that the sellers have their agent. So don't talk to their agent because they're not on our side. And this just puts me as your agent. So then I'd be on your side. So then I'm like a lawyer or whatever, the fiduciary duty. I can't tell your secrets. But if we're not on a contract, then anything you tell me is like, I can tell the world, right? Yeah. So. That's,
You ever ask them, what are your?
Yeah. that's a, thank you.
It's just clarify what it is.
Yeah,
I always ask them. You know what I do? I always put in there, buyer meeting.
Yes.
Right? So
Yes.
I go, I don't want to work with you if you don't want to work with me.
Yep.
And I've never been fired before, but I would put this in. So
Yep.
you're happy.
That's good.
yeah, I agree. And you can just write that in, there's like at the bottom, one of the pages, some lines. I just,
And I do it on my list too.
Yeah.
Depending on the. Not all.
yeah.
Yeah.
But if they're, I mean, it basically
you know,
says that anyway, but
Where they're uncomfortable, it's an easy tool, you know, maybe to disarm them.
yep, yeah, because I say I don't want to work with people who don't want to work with me. That,
And I always say I have,
I've got plenty of other people
but I
that
have
do.
fired
Yes.
people, I
Yeah.
have fired clients.
Yes,
Because you're not gonna work with me and I'm not gonna be successful.
yep. And
That's a huge. part of that,
Powerful.
Mo, is that you can decipher at that point, that if they don't want you to be their fiduciary. At the start, you can choose who you work for, and that's the best thing about this business, is we're working with somebody who's just a nut job, like. I mean, we just had that woman, you just had that woman come in here that.
The scary lady,
Everybody was out together, everybody was, this is her world, she came in with her license plates in her hand because she was afraid somebody was gonna steal it.
Oh, my
God.
Oh my gosh. It is good there.
And she did good, right? They do not good there. But the opportunities that you have as the buyer's representative, I mean, if you don't feel comfortable with that person, if that person's not gonna work with you, this is our job, and we can move on to the next person. There's a lot of people out there. We just always keep that in mind.
Yep.
something that I always tell buyers too, if they're a little nervous about wanting to sign that representation. Is I let them know this contract is as much to protect me as it is to protect you. And then explaining that and going through, these are the benefits that you get with signing this, you have all of my attention, all of my support. And if you decide, that we're not a good fit, I would rather you get with somebody that is a good fit, and I'm more than happy to let you out of that. No repercussions, no questions asked. I mean, probably a couple questions, but I'll let you go, because I want you to be happy, I want you to be comfortable. This is a big decision. You should work with somebody that you trust. So I always usually explain it that way, and then with the representation, I go, sometimes with my buyers, if they are really hesitant, I'll be like, let's do one showing, but let's acknowledge the agency first, let's get that signed. So I can, file that we've gone through that. Let's do one showing, see how we work together. The end of that showing, I'll bring the contract back out, we can talk it over again. And we can decide from there whether or not we're gonna go forward and work together. So sometimes I'll do that, especially with really nervous people, but more often than not, I think I've only ever had one buyer that actually did a showing with me before signing the representation. Otherwise, everybody else I tried to kind of talk through it that way. Just goes, you know what? Yeah, let's just get it signed and let's move forward.
So like when I first started doing the agency, I was fumbling through it, like I had a hard time understanding it myself. And then I realized like, this is something that this is a tool for me to sell myself. When I talk about like my fiduciary duties,
Right.
I'm like taking the time to explain what my duties
Right.
are to them, because they don't know, right? And so now this form becomes something that empowers me.
Yeah.
And I don't have any issues explaining it, so I use it on all my buyers presentation, consults, and I don't have problems with people signing the buyer rep, because if I've done my presentation correctly, I've taken the time to listen to their needs, address any concerns, and then I'm asking for the business. If I can do all these things for you, is there a reason why you would want to work with me?
Yeah.
They said no, right? They want to work with me. Perfect, this is just something that you just have to get, done, it's just. And then I'll explain what it is, and basically just me representing them, that I'm gonna work with them, take my time, They don't have an issue, it's not something, like, don't look at it as something difficult, use it to your advantage, to sell yourself, right? I guess that's how I switched it up, and it's simple.
That's true. It does make us more professional.
It does,
right?
absolutely. As it should be.
Yeah, and I've done that too. The other, one caveat, one script I want to add to that. So you can say then after the first showing, you can decide if you want to work with me, and I'll decide if I want to work with you. And then that kind of jars them too, like, you get to choose.
Yeah.
Why? No, you should be begging me. Like, nope, yep, nope. I get to choose if I want to work. Yeah.
I have a question. This has come up several times in several meetings. I just recently attended SPAR and finally got to go in January. And he said, flat out, it's illegal to show a house without buyer contract. And yet, all the time I'm hearing.
Agency.
Agency is kind of mandated through
No,
legislation.
it's a buyer contract. They said,
I mean, for what reason, or what did they say?
because you're bringing somebody into somebody else's home. You need a contract that says, I am showing this home to this person. So I'm confused. I want that clarified.
Yeah. And that is, I use that terminology to my buyers. I'm like, this just makes me legally your agent, so I can show you houses, but I don't know. I don't know if that's-
I mean, you
I
can
don't
use a
know.
one-time showing agreement. You had, I have used that, but that's for off-market stuff. But other agents, that's just so I get paid.
I know.
That's
I
what
know.
I mean. I hear it all the time. People, I'll show you one house for free and.
That might be a
Let's start calling them in. Get them all.
attorney Michelle question.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is that it's best practices to have them sign before we go out.
Yeah.
Because we are talking about, price terms, motivation, having all of that under representation, so they have all those fiduciary duties with us is best practice. A lot of agents don't do that, unfortunately, and sometimes it just, the situational, it's hard to get that every single time. It's just, that's life. You're not gonna be able to get every single person signed before you go out, but at least getting that agency acknowledged and gone through before you guys sit down and get into the thick of it is the. From what my knowledge and understanding of it and going through the compliance training that is number one. But then before you go further in the relationship, getting that agency or that relationship. I mean, we do showings for other agents all the time and we don't know. Yeah, I mean, I've done showings for other agents. I have no idea. If they're under representation.
We're licensed. pay our dues, earned it.
Yeah.
That allows us to go, and everything else is best practice, but I highly say that's the legal.
Yeah. I don't know, have you had some experience in that?
It's more of a liability than a list. It's, yeah, it's a personal liability versus, because like, yes. If they end up going with somebody else, you're not gonna get paid. So it's more of a liability. issue.
All right, we'll hear Kevin's,
Yeah.
we'll hear Kevin's words of wisdom here and then we'll move on.
So let me just interject, just so you know, in a perfect world, we're gonna be sitting down over a cup of coffee and introducing ourselves to the people and letting them grow confident with our abilities. In the real world, I've only been arrested like 6 or 7 times. But in reality, we get a phone call, we get a lead, someone wants to see a house, we're gonna go out there. We're not gonna have them on the hook of the car saying, hey, you gotta sign this before you go in. I got the key, I got the key. But you do have to have that conversation. You said, we'll go in, let's check this out. We do have to talk about the contract. We do have to talk about agency representation. I want you to know that I'm acting as your fiduciary. I don't represent the sellers on this. I'm working for you. My responsibility is to you. So that, if you can do it that way, again, in a perfect world, we're talking to these people, we're pre-qualifying them, they have their lender letter and preferably somebody we know and instead of payment bank or fun and games.
Yeah.
But
The online lenders.
But- so I agree, and I think that I would not let that keep you from showing a house. Keep that in the forefront of your mind of what we gotta get accomplished.
Yeah,
But
that's a good way of
get
saying it.
people first.
So that's one thing that got me out of working with the crazy Char lady. She wouldn't even tell me her name, much less sign it paper. So I'm like, sorry.
Yep, exactly.
Can't work for you.
No, exactly.
Sitting.
No, she wandered in from all over.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she's known as Crazy Char Lady, just so we. Yeah.
I cut her. I'll cut her.
That's what I said.
You know the story?
I think the biggest thing is setting for expectations with paperwork.
All right. So after our six. Kind of bled into the 3, so showing buyers, marketing to sellers. Yep, we're moving on. So, and you will have classes just on these, so you'll have a lot more discussion. So if you think of questions, you'll have lots more discussion on that. So obviously that's the easy, right? Showing buyers and marketing. Woohoo. And then we just fill out the paperwork and writing and negotiating contracts. So I like that they say that it requires practice, calm, and then a win-win mindset. So I think that's the whole thing. So win-win mindset, I think you guys talked about yesterday, basically win for the buyer and win for us. Calm, I like that part though, because sometimes, as you know, I think that's one of the best things we bring to the transaction, and buyers, sellers can get emotional. We try to be the rock in the storm. That's what I tell people. That's who I am. So they can get emotional, but we try to keep it professional. So that's why we're their agent. So that's part of the negotiating and writing up contracts. Not talking about that today, because that's obviously lots of classes in and of itself. So that's easy. And then by coordinating the sale of the closing. So once we get the signatures, then it's easy peasy and we just float on until we get our paycheck. Not, so I tell people, like, especially in the last couple of years, like, yeah, the selling the house is the easiest part. It's keeping it to contract that always seems like the last couple of years has been the most difficult part. Yeah, and I think as the market, as people's, not the real estate market, but the world's market kind of tightens, I think there might be more and more buyers who fall out of contract for financial reasons too. So obviously, that's another core competency that we need to be with.
I actually had a seller back out on a sale 2 days before closing. They went to pre-sign and they're like, yeah, nope.
Oh, yeah, that's a
That was
lawsuit waiting.
month of
That's a
arguing
lawsuit
back and
waiting to
forth.
happen too.
Yeah,
So fun.
that was fun.
And then number 6. once you get the money, realtors are notorious for going after the next most sparkly thing and paying lots of money for it. So one of the things Keller is big on is managing your money. So there again, we've got lots of classes on watching your numbers, managing your numbers. And that, do you know, Kevin, have you taken a good manage your money class? Through Keller?
I'm still working.
Yeah. They-
You know, they have the classes that go through that are within the millionaire real estate area.
Yeah,
Doing the economics breakdown of what it looks like, where your money should be spent within there, what you should be saving. You know, what percentage they're paying your employees and things.
Yeah.
It really becomes, you know, it's a very personal issue as far as managing your money. You know, we don't know if you have school debt. They don't know if you have, you know, cars or parents that are relying on you or whatever. So you have to manage, you just have to be smart about it.
yeah,
And try and go off to the millionaire real estate agent
yeah.
program if you can, because it is the best way to do it.
That's a good guideline. So that's the MREA, the Red Book. We talk about that a lot in Keller Williams trainings too. So I would say definitely have that. And I would imagine there's in KWU, there's probably lots of Zooms on that too. But yeah, they've got a guideline. It should be this percent should go to this percent should go to this percent in marketing, kind of that sort of thing. So if you're wondering if you are managing your money, that's kind of a good place to start.
You don't have it.
Or if you don't have any, then you need to lead generate. Sort of number one of 90 days. All right, so mindset, my favorite thing. So even though it's not number one of the 6, mindset is, I think it's the most important thing, because you can go through the numbers, but if your mindset's not there, you're not going to convert, you're not going to be successful. So luckily we have Bold coming up. I'm going to give a unabashed sponsor to Bold. I love Bold. I don't know how many times did it come back in the day. So I've been to it, I think at least 6 times. I'm a slow learner. So, but mindset, I think I'm taking it again because I need more mindset. I think in this, because we can get in our little holes and we can get bogged down, we can make our marketing all beautiful and whatever, but I need the mindset to kind of self-motivate, right? We don't have bosses, we're our own bosses, so we need to kick ourselves in the butt and go make those calls. So we've got a wall here full of good mindset things that, when you go to Bold, 'cause I know you will, when you go to Bold, all of these kind of become, I think, more personal. They give you time to think about each one. I don't know. Amy, what's your favorite Bold law? I don't think you've been to Bold.
Never done it. But I am signed up. I'm gonna.
Yeah.
I missed it, okay.
It-
My problem.
It's on the door. All right, Kevin, then what's your favorite Bold law?
Yes.
I don't know if I could choose a favorite.
I know.
mean,
It's whatever you need that day.
It's that when the phone rings and you need something to kind of relate to, I think that there's so many things under the upside down one on and how you participate. Is I always thought that you have the people that will participate and they over participate. They go to too many meetings, they do this and they're not working.
Right?
Not doing what they're learning. But I always like to talk to newer agents and say, you know what, it's great. This Ignite class is phenomenal. But you leave this Ignite class, you gotta apply it. You gotta start to put these things to the test and run with it. And I think one of our best examples in the room right now is Luis and how he grabbed onto this, to the entire program of Keller Williams. Because we're not just individual agents at all. I mean, we have, everybody in this room would help anybody with anything in order to get things accomplished. And I think that your participation in the programs at the office and coming in and being present and having input, it exemplifies who you're gonna be as an agent later.
Yeah.
It really does.
Kind of the,
Well, thanks for helping me out, Kevin. I kind of volunteered you as my mentor, whether you wanted to or not. that's the thing, like, there's agents that are willing to give you the time, advice, like. That's amazing, to get that support, you don't get that in a lot of other brokerages, right, you guys are in a wonderful place, I mean, they have great training.
That contract's over now, right?
I'll stand it.
But you still have to put in community service or you know,
Get the first one off my leg soon.
And so what he was just talking about, one of the bold laws is don't mistake movement for achievement, right? So yeah, you're coming to all the classes and you're making everything beautiful and you gotta be at the website, but you're not,
I remember you saying.
not achieving. Yep.
So it's not a bold law, but I heard it yesterday on a podcast I was listening to. You can either be, busy or, can't be busy and broke.
Oh,
If you're broke, means you have time. So don't be broke.
yeah. Just go do something. Other than- That's probably a good one after COVID, because we all kind of just sat, well, not as just, but a lot of people that sat wallowed in it, but I know a lot of other agents at other agencies are just like, woe is me, and now you can see them just hunkering down and hiding. Yeah, I know. It's like, yeah, you go hide under that rock. That's great. Yeah. Yep, exactly.
Yes.
I think two of my favorites for newer agents are, don't compare your insides to other people's outsides, because everybody's gonna project what they want other people to see. You're not gonna see the nitty gritties and everything, so don't compare where you're at right now in your business to, well, they're doing it. Yeah, but what else do they do?
Yeah,
You know, what have they overcome to be able to get where they're at?
yeah,
You know, they're in a different spot than you're at, so don't compare those two. You can be inspired by other people, use it as a positive driving motion, but don't have the two at
Yeah.
odds in your mind. And then you teach people how to treat you. I
yeah,
think that's a huge thing, especially for new agents. I fell into the trap. I got a buyer. I was super excited, showed them almost 70 houses. This buyer, mind you, when she met my fiance after closing, introduced herself as my full-time job. It was bad. It was so bad. Because every single day we were going out and seeing multiple houses every single day, Monday through Sunday,
Yeah.
like every day.
yeah,
Yeah, it was bad.
yeah. And that's why it's powerful that we
treating
can
those-
fire clients,
Yeah.
right? Yeah,
Like it's one of those, I mean, I did end up closing her, obviously, after closing, I think I say we stopped by the house after they moved in, but it was just, yeah, it was just a mess, and it's just one of those clients that
yeah,
it was very much a learning opportunity.
Yep.
Still a good friend. We have now set more, actual boundaries, but you do treat people, you do teach people how to treat you,
Yeah.
and that's part of setting those expectations and going, yeah, I do have a set schedule, like
Yep.
make sure you're being accountable to the things that you commit to outside of your clients to make sure that you're still following that
right.
schedule.
Well, and that helps your mindset too. You gotta take breaks. Yeah,
Yeah, because if you don't value something that somebody told me when I was early on, it's stuck in my brain, I can't get rid of it, is if you don't value your time, no one else is going to.
Right.
So,
awesome. All right, well, let's discuss some realities too. So mindset matters. The leg in our paychecks, right? So how long does it take? I said this, and I got to thinking, how long on average does it take to get a buyer or seller to sign a contract for a sale or listing? And it's funny, so when I read this, I had just finally signed a listing on this older lady that's downsizing, and I can't even, I think it was 2018. I did my first listing appointment with her, so I was like, ooh, that's not a good track record. But on average, I got to thinking about that. How long does it take before you kind of meet with somebody from an open house or a listing presentation till sign? Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, when there's urgency, but
Right.
typical, there's no urgency.
Right.
So I could take a year or two.
Yeah. Good.
I mean,
I'm glad to hear that.
Recently, 4 years ago,
Yeah.
and it was when I was with the Jason Berman group. And just Jason knows this. So I left the Jason Berman group a couple years ago, and I
obviously you could not reach out.
Right.
Because that was a part of his database,
Right.
but she like tracked me down 40 days later, I'm like, you were with Jason.
Yeah.
I need to
Go with
with
them. Yeah,
Conversation around.
yeah.
So, but I was like.
It takes a long time.
And I hadn't followed up
Yeah,
because I couldn't.
right.
What are the odds? 4 years and no follow-up. The woman like stalks. me.
Right.
She's gone.
Yeah, yeah, right?
But you followed up.
No. I never followed up. He just called me out of the blue and asked me like,
I gotta get better.
can you do this?
I think that's gonna happen more because the market was so crazy for so long now that I think a lot of people are like, I'm not getting involved with that and kind of backed off. So maybe we'll get more of those calls from people who didn't want to deal with the craziness, maybe. I don't know, how long do you think for you, before you, on average? It can, because it can be like wham bam or,
Back to them first,
Yeah.
and when they actually sign the contract.
yeah, that's what I was.
It's like 3 to 6 months, because we usually are their first contact, and then they're just like still looking.
Right,
And then like 6 months later, they'll finally have a contract. Or like 3 months later, they'll finally be ready.
Or some people call like, hey, I'm ready to listen, like, oh,
I know, and then you're not ready.
Like, oh, I have it on. They're like, okay, and then like 6 months later, they're like, we're listening it tomorrow.
Right,
And we're like, what the hell?
yeah,
Yeah, it's usually like there's a long period of time that we,
right,
I think like consistently keeping in touch with them. Whether we know it or not, it
yeah,
ends up being like, we didn't realize like that they would maybe watching. this or
Right.
seeing our Facebook.
right,
And then all of a sudden they're like, yeah, we're ready. And we're like, it's kind of news to us.
right. But yet you were pulling the
Yeah.
levers, you were still doing your mailings, doing your posts, doing your,
Like people have been watching or on
Yeah.
up and seeing stuff.
Yeah.
Cause we're kind of, I mean, like, you don't really know.
yeah,
But obviously they do.
yeah. So that's what I would say, kind of encouragement to the newer people is like, it can take a long time. So just keep doing it. Feels like you're not gaining traction, but all of a sudden it just kind of starts to snowball and. So if it takes 3 years, then 3 years from now, then all those people, and then if you've been doing it for the 3 years, then you just start to get on the wheel, but it's pushing through to get just that, right? And then once we get them under contract, what then, I mean, lately, if you have sellers, you go under, then you're good and closing in 60 days. But if you have buyers, God knows it could be still another year before you even, yeah, right, right, before you even get them a house. So, yeah, there again, our paycheck just keeps stringing out farther and farther and farther, right? So just keep at it. That's why it's important, just like a metronome, you just got to keep doing it every day, no matter what.
Yeah, to that, keep doing what you're doing because people see it. We just don't know who exactly sees it.
Right,
I just had the weirdest. One of my college ex-boyfriend's moms just texted me out of the blue. I haven't talked to her since 2016. She's like, I need to list my house. I'm like,
I know, it's nice.
hi,
I know, it's nice.
what?
Yep, I'm here for you. I've been thinking of you too.
I'm like,
Yep, exactly. So the skills I say every day, lead generate every day, build your database of contacts, communicate with people about real estate daily, because they're again, maybe 3 years from now. Commit to go on a lot of appointments, because they're again, 5 years later, maybe they'll be ready. And then practice conversations to get better every day. So work on your mindset, work on your objections. Yeah.
So question for people that know more than me. When you're going on those appointments and you have those people that are 2 years, 1 year, 3 years down the line, 6 months, are you getting all of your paperwork signed? Like, they don't have a house to sell. They, like, I've had them sign agency before just so I feel good for myself, but I mean, it feels awkward to be like, well, if you're gonna work with me in 5 years, you said you're gonna work with me, how about you sign this now and someday before you're dead or after that's 5 years. Do you guys get that signed right away or?
No.
Like there's, right, typically not, and now we review the contract and talk about it and continue to follow up, but it's, they're just looking for comps or talking about the market.
Yeah.
Then it's my job to continue to educate, follow up.
Right.
Okay, that was really
Yep.
forget about me. But they're, there is a school of thought, I've heard, that you get that sign.
You don't
And,
leave the room.
and I have not mastered that, it's not my style, so I
Yeah.
think we be comfortable with our own styles. I'm a consultant, I am
Right.
not a transaction salesperson.
Yep.
So I handle that.
Yeah.
I do that, I do the same thing, I'll, you know, initially you'll get a contract signed if you're gonna be working with a business, you start to see that, you know, maybe their financing went south, or they bought a car. or
Yeah.
Something in their life changed, but then it's just a matter of follow, and, you know, your contract's gonna expire, but you can keep in touch with them to, you know, keep showing them the properties out with the MLS and you know, they're not interested anymore when they unsubscribe or they just have to look.
Or expires, yeah.
And that,
Yeah.
and that shouldn't be the time that you call them. You should have been calling them ahead of that. You always want to just kind of, just say, we're just seeing how you're doing, how the kids, how's school going, whatever.
Yeah.
It may be. And there's so many calls that I make. I mean, whenever I'm in the car, I'm on the phone and I'll make a phone call. And I would say probably 70% of them, and I'm talking to Ari, just talking about what's going on in that world.
Okay. That's great.
If you have like a drip that you use for other people, a lot of like, okay, a lot of like the longer term sellers, I'll keep them on a specific. Like sheet. A group that I can go, okay, hey, I've got this seller class coming up, or hey, I found this really interesting about, you know, who are the buyers right now. I'll send that information. And so when they're like further out, I just give them information, I'm like, hey, can I send you some information that you might find useful for when you're ready? You know, just to, you know, keep you up to date on stuff, and I'll, you know, I'll check in periodically to see how you guys are doing.
Well, and what we're going to be learning as part of your success things that you're supposed to be doing in the last hour of the class is every day you need to be calling 10 people. So that gives you the opportunity. We just kind of talked about touching base with all these kind of old people in our database or just random people you haven't talked to. There you go. That should help germinate then 10 people a day. Well, there you go. You were just talking about how many people you haven't talked to. So that kind of comes out. So I think we talked about all our ha-has. Good conversation. Anything else on that? We're going to switch. All right. We're going to switch to the recognize your role as a fiduciary for your clients versus a functionary. And I think we've already kind of pretty much talked on that. Basically being their agent, representing, caring for them, kind of all about the buyer, broker, and the agency agreement. Versus functionary, where then they're just a transaction, right? So you're just churning and burning and people can tell that, right? So that's why I think the mindset is important too. If you're just drudgery and it's your job, that comes through whether you realize it or not. So talk about different ways we can do it in your booklet. I don't know if you guys all got it or not, but on page 2.7, they talk about the differences between a functionary and a fiduciary. So fiduciary, high relationship, you accept high responsibility, you have high skills, you anticipate needs, educate, advise, maximum legal responsibility, you're a partner with them, you own the result, your judgment and intuition, irreplaceable and highly paid versus somebody who's just a functionary, just kind of doing the transaction, then you're just following orders, right? To me, they're the people, I don't know if you guys have these people. So the agents that are like, oh yeah, we got 5 offers. I just sent them all over 5 offers. And then I'm like, so obviously you're not educating them. You're not going through the contracts with them. You just sent them over and then they're expected to read through the little nuances and choose which 5 offers they're going to choose. To me, that is not being a fiduciary agent, like those poor people. And then we do our little financing twists and turns and try to get the deal. Well, the public doesn't even understand the little things that we put in there to try to get our offer better. To me, it's very frustrating. So I mean, that's being a functionary versus a fiduciary. Then we have on page. On 2.8, examples of being a fiduciary, so. We'll just take a little break here, if you could take maybe a couple, person next to you or something, go through this 5, we're only gonna do the 5 core competencies. The lead generate, presentations, showing and marketing, writing and negotiating contracts, and then sale to closing. Think about different ways, examples of how you could be a fiduciary versus a functionary. So if you could pair up and do that, and then if you need to get some coffee, whatever, we'll take a little 5-minute break, and then we'll come back and let me know what you came up with. Okay, so let's go like 3 after 10, because I'm so precise. Okay, well, according to that,
So 3 minutes, 3 minutes. Samples.
5 minutes from right now, whatever your clock says,
So break it now or do this first?
whatever you want to do. 5 minutes, we're going to discuss them. That's just everything.
Okay.
Very.
Do you have the 5 competencies? Should I write this down?
Right.
That is gonna be meetings.
Here at the 5.
Yeah.
So don't worry about that.
What is saying, what?
Name like how you can be a fiduciary versus functionary for each one of these 5. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's great, how you can get it, right? David Bays.
You just turn and burn. Well, paperwork for you, you deal with it.
I was like, how was that? Oh, it's like I
Stacy, right? And her.
But we do get.
I think we don't think we can. Well, that's.
So I think I can't go.
One of those things. I got asked me.
All right, 1 minute.
Well, no, I know.
On group, or if you have, you want to share, let me know. So to be a fiduciary, and when you're doing your lead gen, capture, convert, what are a couple examples? Does anybody have? Doing that they're excited about?
We said, coming from a place of contribution.
Love it, vote law.
Yeah, it's just that you're not really asking them for anything, you're giving them.
Right. Like, what could you give them?
Yeah, like, if they're, I mean, if they're buyers, you can give them lender referrals.
Yeah.
Have their documents. Their sellers, like, a moving checklist, downsizing packet,
Market staff,
yeah, just
yeah,
whatever.
resources, then, vendor. Educate on staff. Anybody else have a good one?
Well, we were talking about, because we come from contribution, we should master our databases and everything to make sure we're the ones contacting people we care about. Otherwise, somebody else will.
Kind of following up,
Yeah, follow up.
Mastering, be consistent and disciplined in that lead gen. Right?
consistent follow-up, fortunes in the follow-up. Yep, perfect. I always think of, the typical. Right, these are this kind of like car salesman person, right? We'll just bounce on you right away. And if you don't come back to the lot, then whatever, come to the next person. So we don't want to be like that, so, yeah, if you're a fiduciary, you're following up, just check in. If anything else changed in your life, are you still looking? Perfect.
I think the other thing with that too is building a high level of relationship with that person.
Yeah,
Not just talking all business all the time,
great.
because you're gonna get more of their actual motivations from creating a real relationship versus just business.
And I feel like you can do that by doing. Yeah, perfect. How about the next one? Presenting to buyers, sellers, getting agreements.
Getting educated them first.
Educate them, yep.
Having a formal buyer's presentation and going through all of that, it's just really educated. I was with a young couple last night and I was referred, because they have been just calling Zillow. Zillow leads and getting agents and looking at houses. They're young, they're FHA, they're down at loan system. They were treated so awful.
Yeah.
By the Zillows, and nobody ever went through the whole process of
Yeah.
the staff.
Yep.
And it just broke my heart.
Yeah.
So I just think about last night, my meeting with these young kids that didn't have a chance until they sat down with somebody coming from a place of education contribution, knowing that this could be a year process.
Yeah.
Right, we're gonna get you there, it might take.
Yep,
It takes
and they're not
time.
$1 million compliance,
No,
Yeah,
I mean, I'm upside down.
Yeah.
I'm nuts.
and that's,
Okay.
no, that's, and
And we
that's,
talked about that. Yeah, I said, this isn't a transaction for me, this is like lawn.
yep,
And not all agents think like that. Right. So,
that'll be our key going forward to the shift. Because a lot of those that are kind of burning and dying, they're gonna just want, like, if you're not buying today, then I don't have to keep buying this thing. Like,
or if you're at AJ, I'm not gonna spend time with you.
yeah, and that's the way I built my business on open houses and just dealing with clients like that. From back in the day, anybody $35,000 house. Two of my best clients, I think, were $77,000 and $75,000 houses. I have done since then that their entire families, like I'm just their family realtor. So I spend the time after maybe but man, it's just been a constant register. And then you don't need to sell them on it. I'm just, of course, should. I think that'll be a great way to build your business going forward is taking the time, especially with those people that are scared and, yeah, all these other agents are ranting.
Well, and people over profit, right? That's really the message you need to get across. And then the money comes, right?
Right.
Money comes.
Yep.
You're right, we all know that.
Well, it's harder to do those 6 things.
It's hard to pay the bills, I mean,
Right.
it's not easy,
No.
but if you really live your life by that, the times come.
Yeah, exactly. I love it.
I think another one for that is to, actively be listening and anticipating what their needs are gonna be, so you can have that full conversation.
All right, how about showing buyers, marketing sellers, kind of the same stuff as what you're just on. Yeah, they kind of just throw out like the offer situations. Warn the buyers, there's offers out there, we want sellers, know what how do you deal with monthly offers, they're getting educated.
I think also anticipating their needs is helpful because you're going to take and you're gonna go, okay, this person's going to need X, Y, Z, especially with timelines. If that seller's also needing to buy, making sure that everything's working together.
Yep.
And looking at that bigger picture, because the clients that we're working with, they're gonna be so focused on, they've got those blinders on, they're so focused on, this is my next step, this is what I have to do, this is a lot to keep track of.
Yeah.
And it's our job to, be that lighthouse in the storm for them, make sure that they're going in the right direction by us knowing the bigger picture.
Right, that's what I was just thinking. Managing the big picture. Not just. Okay, how about writing and negotiating contract? Can we be a fiduciary to them for that versus just functionary?
I mean, basically just. Which is the price for it?
Yeah.
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 Well, how you doing? Yeah, with the neighbors.
Then.
No, I was just saying, we negotiate this. You can go into that's why I do it.
I think we advise and protect to both sides of the transaction, whoever you're representing, and you really feel like need to do that.
protect their interests.
Yeah. It's also being a guide.
Hard is.
I think it's also being a guide and educating, being able to lay out that information in a way that makes sense to them.
Yeah.
Because if they're making uneducated decisions, we're not really doing our job to protect, with our
Yeah.
fiduciaries to protect their
Again,
interests.
it's all educating,
You know,
again.
I mean, that's what lawsuits happen.
It's all about taking the time and talking.
Mhm.
And that's a sale to closing. I think there again, they're really like happy to be. And again, do the repairs. Just being there for them, just reporting to them. Let me know if you have any problem or not. Yeah, I think.
High level of accountability is huge when it comes to sales.
What do you mean by that?
So staying on top of schedules and making sure that things are getting done. Too many times I've been on the receiving end of poor time management on the other side where I've had to keep on top of them because things weren't getting done the time that I needed.
Keep others on the team, I'll call it. Accountable, so whether that's checking in with, make sure the lender ordered the appraisal, or how are we doing on getting the plan loaded for the next week?
Hey, did you get that vendor out there to get the quote for the escrow that we need to be able to close? That's great.
Yep. All right, excellent. Fiduciary versus functionary. Perfect. Any other questions on that? I think you get that, or you wouldn't be a Keller Williams personally. All right. Good. Then we're gonna change and go into our daily success system. Review the success system. All right, so a quote from Gary Keller in The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, the Red Book. It's a little longer here on mine. He states, yeah.
Where are we? Because the next thing,
We
so we
are-
were. 2.16. Oh, so we're skipping the 2.9. My bad. It might be different.
It is different.
That's what I'm saying.
Actually, no, that's where we're gonna be next.
Okay.
That's our next section, yep, yes,
Okay.
so,
We
Yep.
have most of the quotes in our book. but
I
not
know,
all we did have,
right?
so.
so his quote from the Red Book is, what you have to embrace is the fact that it is the number of qualified leads you have that will either grow your business, keep your business, or put you out of business. Lead generation is the number one answer. Nothing else about your business will have as big an impact on it as the number of leads you have. So how this leads into the accountability is basically, you're gonna have to talk to people about real estate. And sometimes when you're new in the business or old in the business, it can feel uncomfortable to do so. You feel salesy. Whatever drunk monkey, don't listen to your drunk monkey, another bold luck. Whatever that is. So one of our success systems is role playing is going to be key. If you've ever gone to Jason Gorman or listened to Jason Gorman for more than 15 minutes, you'll know he's got his scripts down, objections just roll off his tongue. He talks in my ear still all the time. So I strongly encourage you to visit some of his classes, but accountability is what we're going to work on. Accountable people achieve results others can only dream of. Why do you think that is? Stay on track, yeah. And
I mean, you're doing what others won't do.
well, it's kind of. Sometimes when you say it out loud, if you have to explain, if you have to explain to somebody else why you didn't do something. And you have to say it out loud, then it kind of does sound silly, right? Well, I got caught on Facebook and there weren't like 45 minutes, then you're like, come on.
So, yeah, I think just having an accountability person, just so you can hear it yourself, I think we all can, it helps us self-regulate. So that's what we're gonna do now. In your guides, and I think we're catching up. We're gonna choose accountability people. So when you do that, this is kind of what we expect. If you're an accountability partner, this is kind of what we expect. We don't expect you to lecture, create judgment, be hardcore. You're more of a mirror. So provide a safe place to share, follow through with your action items. So that includes kind of keeping track of your partner's action item. Listen and pay attention while the other person shares. Don't interrupt. Like I said, sometimes they'll just get to the point themselves, which is better than you lecturing. Set a frequency of checking in with each other. Dig deep to find out why you do the things you do, right? Why are you going into Facebook for 45 minutes? Because you don't want to pick up the phone. Why don't you want to pick up the phone? Because you don't know who to call and I don't know what to say. That's really what caused the 45 minutes of Facebook. Or YouTube or Instagram or whatever for you younger. Respect each other and the process. Create a commitment and stick to it. Be open to receiving feedback. So no yeah buts. One of the bold laws is also there's no buts. You are not allowed to say but in bold or you pay a fine. So why did you get in Facebook? Yeah, but my sister got married and her photos came up. Nope, that's a but. Nope. Nope. So be open to receiving feedback and give specific feedback. So if you do see something that your partner could do differently, maybe you are more specific rather than, well, you should just get better at that. Oh, what does that mean? Like, help me. And then there again, have each other's best interest. Constructive feedback. Like, let's role play that specific objection. So what we're gonna do now is choose an accountability partner. So we're gonna do some exercises now. So if you already have one outside of Ignite, that's great, but let's just have one so that you guys are having the same experience, because I believe you're gonna be doing it now for the whole Ignite as well. And if you have one like today, and then you want to rotate every day, you want to rotate once a week, you want to rotate, that's fine too. Maybe you get different pieces and different nuggets from different people. That's more than fine right now. But right now, if you could switch, find somebody, two of you preferably, maybe three, to get an accountability partner, that would be great. And then we're gonna do kind of a quick little exercise. So 1 minute to find somebody. Preferably just two. All right, does everybody have somebody?
Not a good sign if it walks away. It needs to go. Look, there's gonna go.
On pages 2.10 and 211.
Yes, I have to grab this guy.
I'm gonna give you just a couple of minutes, so maybe a minute and a half. each. So if you can get their contact information, and then if you could decide on the frequency of when you're gonna check in, when's best to check in, decide on that. And then if you could briefly pick one of your annual goals that you're working. And then, let's kind of briefly go through these questions on the left. Does everybody have those pages?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't.
Yeah, then I'm checking into 11, there's some kind of information here, it's like. Yeah, just go ahead and start.
Oh, yeah.
It's like. Whenever you're like. What are
All right, one more minute. All right, let's bring it back. If you move out of your seat, get back, or you can stay where you're at, whatever you want to do. But you'll do more stuff with your accountability partner here shortly, so. If we could come back and then you can pick up your conversation again later, that'd be great. All right, well, good. I'm glad you get along with your accountability partner. It sounds wonderful. Now we're gonna start with our success system. You talked yesterday, I believe, about the success system. And now we're gonna work more with the success system tracker. It's in your book. So you remember your success system, 10 conversations, 10 contacts added, 10 handwritten notes, 10-5-1 social media engagement, enrichment.
You're crazy.
You'll be talking about that, but as I talked about at the beginning, noting where you are keeping track of your numbers will be key on what you need to tweak, what role modeling, what role playing you need to work on. So that'll be key going forward, your tracker. If you can't measure it, you can't improve it. So that's why we're gonna have the tracker, and I strongly encourage you to keep track of it. So what do you do when you have to call somebody? We kind of talked about it briefly. You guys all of a sudden had a bunch of people that you were kind of thinking you needed to talk about, but what do you call them out of the blue? This board is kind of super old, but it works. So boards, family, occupation, recreation, dreams. So if you have to come up with small chat, why somebody, what should you say to somebody? Always good examples. What are you talking about over there?
He's like, yeah, we're just gonna call him and say, hey, what are your dreams?
I know. What's your dream? I just saw Pretty Woman.
And I would say also look on their Facebook page and see what recent post maybe they have. Talk about.
That's awesome, because then it looks like you have been paying attention and thinking about them, right? Right, exactly. Yeah, so then if you ask them about their job and then they're like, well, I got laid off and I'm going on to it.
Right?
But if that is, then you can say, hey, I was thinking about you, I saw that. I would love to help you, you know, what kind of job are you looking for? Maybe I know, you know, I know a lot of people in various industries. Maybe kind of, then you can look like building a relationship there, that you're not just using them for real estate, you're truly care about them, right? Yeah, good point. Faith, stock them first, totally, I totally agree with that. So there is a little role model. Role playing here. Somebody want to be my person that I'm calling?
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. So, it's been some time since we talked. How's the family doing these days? You can come back to school? How old is you?
Yeah, it's really good. Youngest is 6th grade.
They grow up so fast. It's like a year older. My kids are back in school too. We're all healthy. So where are you working now? Are you working from home? Or are you back in the office?
You know, kind of doing the hybrid thing, maybe at the office, maybe at home.
Are you able to pick your days so you don't have to drive through traffic?
Well, it's nice when they have that big small zone.
You know, I decided to get into a new business recently, and I became a real estate agent. I'm really excited about helping people achieve their dream of homeownership. It's keeping me busy, and I'm still cross-country skiing as much as I can. Since you cross-country ski, do you have any recommendations? Are you hitting the trails this weekend?
No, I just go on the lakes. There's
There's specific lakes, but that's the lake.
Yeah, I like going along the Apples Chain Lake, so. Yeah, we meet with the Isles.
I never think of going on the website. I'm just trying that out. By the way, did you pick up any new hobbies during this quarantine then?
Yeah. That I think of, I started doing a lot of it.
They're doing a lot more eating.
I started cooking and I gained like weight.
And how about spring break? Got any plans or summer vacation plans? Want any more fun?
I don't know, but, big 40th birthday is, I'll go somewhere.
Oh, that sounds fun. So it's great catching up with you, and I wanted to let you know about my new real estate business. I'd love to tell you more. So love to get coffee if you're able to make it with your hybrid schedule.
You know what, yeah, we can always sit down and see what say.
Perfect. There you go. So you can just kind of leave it, love to have coffee with you sometime and not set up something. Whenever kind of vibe your stuff. Yeah, that didn't feel like we were following. Yeah, that was kind of some role playing. That's what you get to do with your accountability.
I like the working from home. That's I thought it would come out. I haven't.
Right? Yeah, I mean, not that it matters, but it's, I don't know, it opens up to other things. Yeah.
You take a look at that today, yeah.
Oh, the script?
Not like.
All right, and then the next thing to do is add things to your database, to 10 contacts to your database daily. We're not getting into command at this class because that's a Drew thing. So if you have any concerns or questions about how to do that in command, talk to Drew. And then the third activity is 10 handwritten notes. So, and they specifically say handwritten notes, so that's not texting 10 people or. Why do you think handwritten notes, they specify that?
People like getting
Write the address.
Like people like.
I think it's something about like 90 or 95% of handwritten, like addressed envelopes actually get opened
Yes,
in the mail, if it's a printed on.
right. So if
envelope or
you
anything like
have,
that, it
yeah,
doesn't
so if
get
you have
opened.
labels, don't use them on your handwritten notes, right?
Well, maybe for like your return address.
Yeah.
For the mail.
Not for them,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah,
That's what I do with when I go to I can't read.
yeah. Yeah, I don't know, when you get something in the mail too, you kind of like, oh, it kind of perks you up. Oh, I wonder what that.
That
Yeah.
is true, because you get.
I just got one for my grandma,
Yeah.
thank you for her Christmas gift, and it made my day.
Yeah,
Well, because you're so used to getting bills.
yeah,
Junk
Junk,
mail.
yeah.
And I don't want that. crap.
right? Yeah, yeah,
I like something nice.
yeah. So it doesn't have to, I mean, it really doesn't have to say anything. You just get something and you instantly get that like, oh,
You can always put a business card in there.
right? Yeah. All right, there's the command. All right, so then, any questions on that? Otherwise, we're gonna kind of jump right into what you should be doing. So on pages 216 and 217. This is kind of what they say you should do every day. So we've got, that's kind of your homework, right? So what they're saying is 20 minutes a day. Oh, that's great. 20 minutes a day is role play. So that's with your accountability partner or. And don't be too hard on them, but be realistic. Don't just love them. Easy ones either. Try to be realistic. Then 10 minutes. 10 minutes, then they suggest to prepare your call list. So that's what I have found, like, otherwise you're like, oh, I have to make 10 calls, and all of a sudden I can't think of anybody to call. But if you've done, even if it's the night before, or all of a sudden you're like, oh, I feel like calling this group of people, and you just start to make a list, then it doesn't seem like, oh, next on my list is Sharon. Okay, then you just kind of pick up and roll with it. But if you're like trying to pull it off, I think that's a critical piece that a lot of people skip. But it makes it so much easier. So that's kind of what this is, too, your conversation sheet. If you make a list and you have their phone numbers handy. If you have in Command or some other database where you have their like last notes or when you bought with them last or whatever, review that, stock them on Facebook, whatever, 10 minutes to prepare your call. And they say 45 minutes. They call it real play. So rather than role play, it's real play. That's actually calling. So the calling shouldn't take really that long, 10 calls, so that's less than 5 minutes piece. That's not like you should be talking with them for 20 minutes. They don't have time for that either.
Question.
Yeah.
What would the best time to call?
What would be the best time to call? That sounds like another drunk monkey that could come up that say, well, now's not a best time to call, so I won't call now. But lunchtime's not a good time to call because they might be eating and running errands, so I won't call then. And now it's time for them to pick up their kids, so I'm not gonna call now. And now it's nighttime, so I'm sure they're like at their kids' game, so I'm not gonna call now. So I would say you just call. You just set the time for you and you just call.
Okay. Because I call them, most of them.
And that's fine, right? You've touched base with them.
Do you leave them a voicemail?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Definitely.
that's a good point. You leave voicemails, just then they know, oh, yeah, that's right. Oh, yeah, I forgot about him. That's right. And my daughter's thinking about buying a house. I should have come get.
And it's suggestion on the voice, when you leave the voice, not like you go through all those.
Right.
What would you say?
Well, I mean, if you're new to the business, then you could kind of just say, I'm just so excited. I wanted to give you a heads up that I'm doing this now. Or if you're old, you could just say, hey, I just saw you on came across my feed on Facebook that your son won the championship or whatever. Just thought of you and wanted to touch base.
Yeah, I was gonna say that, or else, if you have like, if it's on a house that you know that you can visit, whatever it might be. Hey, I got a couple of quick questions for you, Lisa, give me a quick call back, you have a chance.
Yeah.
Like, if you have questions, that's the expectation,
Yeah,
and they're gonna call, what
Right.
those are.
yep. Yeah, if you've been maintaining your relationship with them, if you haven't talked to them for 2, 3, 4, 5 years, then I wouldn't start with that. But yeah, if you just saw them and have a hot listing, whatever. Yeah, that's great.
So, one of the things that I've been trying to change is when I call people, so. Like, I didn't people find it. But sometimes that doesn't work, I don't get a lot of people at work. So like yesterday, I was at the gym and I was on the treadmill and I just started calling. I got people on the phone, it was like 7, 8 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
And walking on the treadmill, having a great conversation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Following up. Just be open to changing the times.
Yeah.
It doesn't always have to be kind of people that enjoy. Be lead getting all the time.
Great.
Your goal is 10 right now, but you always around the corner, you're gonna get 20 contacts per day. You gotta get a little bit creative. Also, what the hell are we gonna talk about? Like, start doing events, like invite people, start doing things to get people excited. Food wise, like figure things that you're not just calling about. Real estate, it could be things you're doing in your community, you're actively doing. So that's what I took from like the agents that were really successful in contacting their databases, was that they were having events, but they were calling them to invite, so it wasn't always like real estate, right? It was like, hey, we're doing this, it's great, like I'm having a first time home buyer, so I'm calling people, inviting them, so they know that maybe looking to buy this year. So like, you're being purposeful about what you're calling about too, because if you're just calling to say hi, blah, blah, blah. Like, yes, you could get a deal, but if you have, something you want to talk to them about, be passionate about it, and show that you care, they might be more receptive to what you're saying.
And those first time home buyer things, sometimes you can consider it not a success, because you didn't, maybe nobody came. But that would be where the juice is, right? You were able to promote it and talk to people and kind of raise your hand, I'm a realtor, right? And then you have that to talk about rather than, well, nobody came. Yeah, but that was a touch that you could give to so many different people.
I had one person come, I helped that person buy a house.
Yeah.
That's when I did it, I had 4 people, I helped other person. So I see the value.
Yeah, sometimes the event itself doesn't have to be well attended, but just something that
When is your seminar?
What's that?
When is your-
March 18th here?
March 18th?
2 to 4, yeah.
you. All right, so then calling and then 30 minutes to updating your database. So then following up, putting in your notes. Maybe they said, yeah, we're talking, Susie's a senior this year, so we're thinking maybe next spring we'll sell the house and we're gonna move to the lake. Great. Do you mind if I call you in like November so we can kind of touch base and whatever? Yeah, or can I come now so that you have the summer to work on your little to-do lists? See what you can get the most bang out for your buck for fixing up your house, so you don't put money where it's not gonna get you anything. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
So how big should your prepared list be if you're taking into account that you might be just leaving?
I
you might be
would still say
leaving
just-
10 messages.
yeah, maybe 10, 12. I wouldn't go more than that, that's fine. If you want to talk to 10 people, if you want that to be your goal, great. Then maybe you prepare 20, because if you don't get them today, you'll get them tomorrow. But I would say just starting out, if you dial 10 numbers a day, that's awesome. Right? Yeah, take your successes.
Or text.
Yeah.
It was, social media.
Facebook Messenger.
A lot of people. that
We just
have,
randomly.
Like one of these, Facebook messengers, those are private contact. Yeah.
All right, then I have to read this. I have it in bold print, must say following verbatim. So here. Today, you're going to make calls to your sphere and people in your database. Before you make any calls or texts, please remember to honor the TCPA and do not call this. including those of your market center and state. If you have any questions or concerns about this, please consult your market center or attorney to ensure compliance and refer to the pages at the beginning of your participant guide for more details. These guidelines are for your protection as well as for the protection of your clients. Let's review the importance of the Telephone Consumer Protection Act and the do not call restrictions for when you make calls or text to your database. Yeah. Don't do business with people who don't want to do business.
Basically, we defend information if they say, the manager is on all this kind of thing.
Yeah, then take them to the database. Right? Then you don't want to do business with those people. You're just gonna be trying to sell them the prayer. All right, so another bold thing, affirmations. Can we say this all together in preparation of bold? Ready? I engage every conversation in the spirit of contribution and people are happy to be in relationship with me. So if they ask you to be not on the call list, then you're like, great. One less person I have to place my money on. Perfect. All right, so now the rest of the time we have together, get with your accountability partner and you can role play. Or if you want to jump into your calls and role play later, maybe you role play. I know a lot of top agents who have been role playing for years, like that's the first thing they do at 8 a.m. They call each other, they role play one scenario piece, and then they're done for the day. So if that's kind of what your accountability partner would prefer to do, that's fine, but like I said, just kind of start your engines and do the success. Yeah. So that's the rest of the time on the success system. Thank you. Wonderful, wonderful conversations. Love it.
So you want to do one?
Yeah. So, and then.
On your notes on there, so you have your own, like you roll your notes.
Yeah, so that's right.
You had this one.
It's the same.
Okay. Yeah, all right, because that's kind of what I've been doing,
Right.
maybe I should get the bigger.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Thanks.
Well, you're.
And then you, that's what you were, so this is how you do the slides, or how do you do the slides?
Drew set that up.
So how do you move it? Do you make it?
Oh, just-
Thanks for the lesson.
I know.
Like, they just. Yes. And. Except for this. All these meetings. Oh, yeah, you know, I invited like 2 newer agents. They were here yesterday. Yeah. Especially, it's great because they use great a lot. Yeah.
Maybe they looked at that.
Right, right. So. Should it be more like this?
Yeah.
That's what my screen is.
Sure, right, I know, I think I've already back years ago. There. Yeah. Just for there.
So does that update, like, does that mean that it updates?
That's great.
Okay, yeah.
Changes.
Yeah.
mean, that looks. And it's reflected in the meter. Oh, yeah, yeah.
All of.
Which shows the detail.
Wait, it made it worse.
I'm just going.
Oh.
Okay. It's like, you got it. It's going all up like. You need to learn this. You need to learn this. No. I think.
Post basically, the partnering like, I mean. I mean, you.
That.
Yeah, that's it.
And then also. This council, this much, I just. Look at this one, I want to show you. This is the camera in the wall.
But I don't know how it does. Blind.
So, do you take pictures of your? Do you have the chart?
This is all.
No. Like, for example,
You have that, you have.
Yeah. One sheet.
Well, I think
You know.
Thanks for your time today. I gotta run my lectures. Otherwise, I would totally stay for the whole thing. But, well, thank you. It's nice to hear the carbon has a unique perspective.
Yeah, I know.
Generate business. I really like how a lot of people are like, they're like me, they don't like kind of side sales. They want to.
Yeah. Well, if you ever have a session.
Have you generally walked in the circle? Simple. That's what I.
It just.
This is the class.
In the third group.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then someone does understand the disease. So concerning. They see.
Yeah. I could have.
Right. Like you said, your mind. Especially working.
Cool.
Go back to one.
Apply it.
I'm just already.
Got it. Thanks for sharing.
Oh. Yes, there was.
Oh, that's.
Well, that was not what I did.
It is great.
Well,
Nope.
you know,
No?
I didn't, I didn't, she did go around.
It's really. Those people you just have to just figure it out. It sucks. What it takes.
Yeah, and then.
Yeah, that's another thing. That's another thing. Another option
Is the advertising, but next week, I'll store on a.
Right, right. Because, you know, a lot of it's just like.
And then-
it's like, why?
Yeah.
They don't expect that. So it's like, for the wise. it's like, Right. But me, I mean, I don't think.
So, and it's like, well, you.
I think this is fun to. We are honest.
I can afford a couple of different houses. Yeah.
I mean.
Maybe you should have one.
Well, I need to do my agent.
You've
reviews.
seen back of the.
I think
Really appreciate.
I'm gonna.
Yeah.
go to this too.
I've been going
to. Just away from the streets.
There's like a very.
Yeah.
If you. On Saturday, so there's a ball break. Yeah. Stay tuned. They said.
Do you want to?
Yes.
Or did you want to? Or did you want to have? A day or.
Well, I have my spreadsheet. I just haven't had it. So right now I have.
You know, they quick, like.
They.
We'll just.
This is just for going to my phone every time.
Okay, so I'll show you what I was doing my first two. Getting them in, doing like case reviews.
You're one of the. Send them in. There's another one.
Yeah.
You know.
That's
one.
There as well.
That's a good.
So I have all my guys.
Yeah.
So as I was.
Just
Not.
call.
Oh, yeah.
United.
So as. I would highlight. Say this was. But I want to. I highlight it as region. And then. Editors, because they give. But they were done already. If they did this, they had no. And so how they do this. They knew exactly how to do it. When they would know, they would put it like, hey, I got this. Because I went through and I, so these are the ones that I uploaded. And then I was going through them individually and editing them. Adding in, you know, the information that I got from them, be it text or whatever, and then I do that. Those things.
Yeah, because I also have.
I ended up giving you the one that's true, because we couldn't keep up with it, and so I was.
Yeah.
I took it and said, yeah. I didn't really know what it was. So they have one, but now I got to through it, and I got little some information, reorganize motion.
Yes, sure. Yeah, that sounds good.
Well, that's what I would do. Ask them on the-
There's a lot of people who are. You know, they're successful. First, my first years.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah, and then from there, they can just put it up.
Sounds great.
And it might not have-
Well, I've been
It should
asking,
have.
like, when I went to the houses and I met, like, pictures, like, I did it. Like, having their information, but I'm also hitting them.
What would be great?
What the house, like, where the house was.
Which.
And then you get your friends, hey, this guy did this for me, you know.
Really good.
Well, I'm gonna finish this and then I can just.
Instead of like.
So, but I mean, updated, like, updated.
I don't know where. I heard it in the podcast.
Let's do at least 10. Yeah.
So, and that's all. in there, like, you have for the class. 10
Perfect.
So what you can do then. is you have the items.
Yeah, those are the ones.
A lot of issues.
That's what it is.
Right.
No, no, no. You're really do it. I'm not.
I have a picture.
It's not. That's true.
You got it. You got it. I'll text you tonight, see how many you got.
That's.
Because even if you break it down a little bit, that makes it a little bit easier, and it keeps you on the path, like, okay, you could write 10 and then.
Figuring out. I mean,
Yeah.
I start.
Right.
Right, so think of stage before you leave,
You.
think of what you want to say. Like with your help, we were able to bring this many pounds of food, you know, thank you so much for supporting your community. You know, if there's ever a situation that, like, I can help you.
If I want.
Right?
Yeah, I know what I did with my lab, with what I did with.
And Lisa, are we dismissed for the day?
Yep.
Okay.
Never. I know you were saying my name, but I can Spanish. Because I was like, what? Well, because my name is Ella.
This is a good day, Lisa. I had,
At least that.
90%. It was crazy with buyers right the last 2 years. When I got into it. 90% of my business is
No,
last
okay.
year. And I need to.
That's awesome.
Outside of that, I bet you
Yeah, my.
every buyer's agreement was with the document signed with the
Oh.
offer. I think.
But.
You know, I was kind of old schooling it, just handshake and let's go look at stuff. And
Yeah.
Jackie was telling me about one that.
Yeah.
It was a friend, a cousin, and she was out of town and she bought
Well, like,
it,
yes.
open house. and stuff.
Yep.
I don't know why I got stubborn with it. I just, like, well,
I know well, it's easier, right?
right, agreed.
But no, that was one of my first transactions with a referral from my best friend and the agent. Like I showed it to the guy and then he wanted to show it to his dad. So there was an open house, so we just asked the agent if he could wait 15 more minutes because his dad was on the way. And the agent's like, sure. I did the whole transaction with him, and then the agent refused to pay me. I didn't have a buyer broker,
Wow.
That's.
but he had come through his open house, and because the dad was the actual buyer. So, yeah, he's like, nope, I showed the buyer the house first. He didn't have a buyer broker.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was one of, I mean, I was new, and it was one of those agents that.
There's a lot of kids now. Next one. Like, yeah. You know, even though there's positions.
Yeah, he didn't say anything. Right. I just waited for my paper. 3, 4, 5 days later, and then Anne reached out.
Wow, that's pretty. That's.
Yeah.
That last little figure.
Right, I know, and I'm like. You're a big- He's not like.
Wow. So
Yeah.
it's good.
So I learned that lesson.
I learned, yeah, and I need to end being cavalier. with that.
Yeah. And that's why now I'm petrified every time my client goes and looks at a house at an open house. Don't talk to them. And if you want to see it again, don't ask them to come back. I will come over there and show it to you. Yeah. Yep.
They're teaching a good thing. I had,
Oh, really? It's super helpful when stuff
That was.
Oh, yeah.
I was gonna say.
Well, he taught me some of that because and we're not super happy, then I can tell ahead of time because it makes the power talk that he was gonna go.
There's no aggressiveness. That's kind.
You guys it's like the art. I used to play basketball with my boys over there. The way to pick up game was not the ball. You know. It was fun.
Well, it's interesting because I have not been around this small culture of being here. So I was raised in Arizona. So I was raised in Atlanta. And then I was in Atlanta for 7 years. Oh, yes, I can. Oh, gosh, yeah. Well, I know. Elon. So I mean, I follow her. Oh, Elon?
Like we talking about.
Maybe I'm saying. Elon, the same, it's like similar. Elon, I think. She's the rep for the state.
Yeah, she said.
That is extremely.
I'm sorry, that was a better, that was.
I see your face.
Yeah, well, I know you're being, I think that's Minnesota, that's why I was excited. Okay. In. All right, so where did you from?
I was going to Somalia.
Okay.
So my life.
What did you know?
I just wanted to thank you for today's class. I was leaving. Yeah, it was quite helpful and informative.
You what?
It was quite helpful and informative. So are you like, offering any other class? This is not, this is.
Nope, this is my only one for Ignite,
Okay,
but I
okay,
teach periodically. But yeah, if you ever have any questions, just let me know.
for sure. I will let you know.
Yeah.
Thanks again. Yes.
That's amazing.
Well, if you think about it, a lot of people. think of it. Well, people talk about, like how they learn how to speak Spanish. If you watch them all the time, you start to listen more. Oh, you know. Oh. Oh, that's right, and I need to watch. Penny has a required house where I used to watch. Penny is around. Yeah, that's what we're doing. Yeah, I was doing that. So my sister did really want to, and so we went there. We started going through, never would I ever got questions. Yeah. But it's like. Next round of space.
Yes, some support. There's a people that have been quickly to the ladies, because people rush their president. Since we're.
Yeah, that is Italian, French Italian. Single word, you almost say it's
Where were you working there? Okay, and then when did you go here? Okay, and then were you, was it given where did you live?
Most of my family was in the.
Yep. The schools have been very. For me, it's just. So we moved up here in December of 2020. Okay. And. Like, so in Atlanta, like I. Very trying to build the community in our. events, everything, he's really, you know, and like, I love the community. We take care of each other. And, like I was probably kids, and go there, and was just beautiful education. And I didn't have happy. And so we started. There's obviously somebody that they were perfect on what we want to. Because they do, you get one dollar, it's a little how they do. And I think whatever, and I didn't know.
Sorry.
I like having that here, so I have the. I live in- I know. 40-minute drive. I like everybody here, that's what I didn't do. But I bought from provider. I found it on the mom. That's what I was using. Oh. Look at you. Well, that's nice. I've seen that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Pleasure to meet you.
Yeah.
Have a good one.
You too, sir.
And the why. Things are. Why. Yes, how were they raised, what the values.
Should have, and how can I, well, and with that limit too, the rental, that like, we're the people together and everybody. I think like, people being able to. Get it, no, that's just like, I know that.
You want to say like, some of them smart about it. For insurance.
This is gonna be on that stuff.
It is everyone that do as. We are all favorites. One has to be teaching.
Yes, actually. Where's this change?
Because you always want to do better.
Or if you want to. That's not okay. And how it's not your kid. When it's their time with all the other kids. We don't do anything else.
Yeah. It goes, you know, that
You
goes.
see one page, it's like, you
It's not
know,
what kind of deal, but I let them know like.
there's all the exact same notes. Exact same.
Yes.
Yeah, well, you know. You have, it's like the.
I tell it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see this, yeah.
Because we're like, right, and then we're ready. My whole life still. So I have it. Yeah. I've done it. I had one partner. Yeah. Yeah.
So. Like, reader.
My husband works for you. So he watch it. It cannot be because
We were talking about.
like he also has. But he has a little bit.
Oh. Oh.
Sounds like it was.
Feelings there, that makes sense. But it's a actually bad. Yeah.
So statistically, it looks like.
So that's why I have to look at it, and it leads to the problem.
The market is going to be. We just have one spot, so I mean, I say.
Just like in India.
Well, I mean, I love.
The ones that are right.
Love the. Like, also be nice. So I'm when I'm going to see it.
Get involved. So it's all- that's what it's doing.
And, you know, so I don't know what I want.
Well, and there's also the idea.
Side, there's a pick which flavor cake you want to sit there.
Yeah, I know, I mean, I'm a great fan. Whereas you're also. Oh, then good.
The other thing that are recommended is too is there's a certain why in the market and really strong, whether it's. You know, well,
Oh, I like.
Keeping that. Culture and
I mean, I want lots of start in. It's not even my house. Hi. Someone bid on me. Oh, stop by my office, I got that.
Actually, funny, this is my passion being. Or now, but. My uncle bought. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, but those things are getting on in your mind, like. If you don't like that, yeah.
As far as I know, yeah.
But yeah, my collage.
Should have found that out in hallway.
It's 6'4". Like, yeah. Oh, yeah, my uncle was like 6'4", and my aunt is 4.
See, that's.
And my- Yeah, she picked her up, put her on a chair. At the reception, like, oh, no, I wouldn't. It's just
So.
they're linked to personality and relationship, so it's 1 month.
Always have my kids, like, I like to poke them on this.
Yeah.
It's like.
Racial.
He's not ever close to saying, I wish they would want to. But you. Right.
And they're wondering, is not going to this. Some too, come on.
This having.
Hey, I need those.
You know.
Hey, I need one of them.
I'm trying to take that as it was.
Oh, they get me. I know it. That's a bad one. So are you on it? Or you're- Do you have a team?
Do I have a team?
You don't have what you
So I started in, So you. And I just came. Not like.
All of my lodge and everything that I don't want to.
That's what we This training is, it's just using the result.
So a lot of my contacts, like, as you start looking at yours, right? So many of my. Right? So I have people here that I was. Like, I remember. Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, I need to. This one is gonna be. They have it, and they're splitting, they're cottage structure.
Love working on that.
So it is, so yesterday, so it's one just huge room. And there's a trainer, and you come in and you. And it's gonna be met off. So every day, looking at the way, I've gone through many different. And so this like, you have, it's kind of like. So we know what we just do now, so there's a hard time. Sometimes even harder, it's like you're shooting away. It's like, oh, you have to do this thing. And you're doing another exercise counting and doing away this. So I've made really good progress on this. Like I just my state. Like I actually, I've seen this video. Yeah, we've been doing it. Look, because I don't want to, like, I need, slow.